It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
All right. What's going on, everybody? It is Sunday night, October 20th, 2024. Unbelievable that we're less than 2 weeks away from Halloween. We are less than 3 weeks away from the presidential election here in the United States. And we are less than 7 days away where my co-host, Kev Castle, joins me here live on YouTube. Next Sunday night. We're going to do a Wrestling Meets Halloween episode, so I hope everyone out there joins us for a little while. We're looking forward to it. And by the way, unbelievable the amount of support you guys have shown this week with our 20th anniversary shirts. How crazy is that? For those that know what I'm talking about, how crazy is that? If you go on Pro Wrestling Tees, right now, we are the third biggest selling shirt of the entire week. I think only Adam Cole and Jon Moxley are above us right now. And we have the Spring Store also, because the Spring Store allows you to get a mug, get a pillow, a poster, stuff like that. So that's why we have the two shows. If we would have had just a Pro Wrestling Tee show, we would have been the number one selling shirt. That is just amazing. And listen, there's no question. I admit it. There's no question that our YouTube presence is this small because of, you know, the issues that we've talked about in the past. And even our social media presence is this small because we prefer to keep our intelligence, our discussions on the shows rather than trying to tweet everything. Yeah, we definitely suffer stats as a result. But, you know, when you see on the charts that we are consistently in the top 30 now amongst any country, and you see that we're the third largest selling shirt, not in the podcast world, in the wrestling world. Trust me, I don't have that kind of coin where I could be buying all the shirts up myself. So the fact that you guys are doing that is just amazing, man. And we thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. So I hope everyone is having a good evening. You know, here in New York, you know, we're a little bit pumped on the baseball side of things because at least one New York team is in the World Series. The Yankees won it in 5 against the Guardians. Now the Mets tonight play the Dodgers in Game 6. And, you know, look, in 1986, they were down 3-2. And then we remember what happened, you know, the Bill Buckner game. To me, if you remember a week ago, I said I had really bad vibes. And what did I say a week ago on this show? There's going to be no middle ground. It's either going to be they win by a lot or they lose by a lot. And that's pretty much has been the series so far. I'm still feeling that this is like 1985 Mets where you come this close. Next year will be the year that I think. But hey, anything could happen. Maybe they could pull out 2 against the Dodgers. But me being in my 50s, you know, I have experienced the Yankees and the Dodgers in 1977, in 1978, in 1981. So, you know, there is a rivalry there. Sure, you know, the teams don't have the heat like they used to. I mean, there was a bitter hatred with the Yankees and the Dodgers, and that went all the way back into the 40s and the 50s. But, you know, at minimum, you got the Yankees and the Dodgers in the series. At maximum for us New Yorkers, we have the Yankees and the Mets in the World Series. And the last time they faced each other was in 2000. And the Yankees won that one. So we'll see what happens tonight. Good thing about this show is we're starting at 8:05. We'll be done probably around 9:30ish. So I'll be able to check out the rest of the game and see what goes down. So if anybody gets any score updates while we're live, share them in the comment section so at least I can know what's going on. So how's everybody doing? What a bullshit last 48 hours. I'm no genius. I know a lot of you out there expected to see what went down. Didn't take a rocket scientist to see. And no, I'm not talking about Tony Khan and JD going at it. You know, if anybody really wants me to talk about that later, I will. But, you know, the stuff with the IWC trying to cancel Undertaker. You know, I warned everyone on Thursday's update or Friday's update, even before this all went down. And then we talked about it this morning. You know, it's just bizarre. It's really bizarre. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of people that don't like Trump, and there's a lot of people that don't want to vote for Trump. But it's almost like, do I want to get stabbed or do I want to get shot? Trump and Kamala Harris, neither one appealed to me as president. And this is what Americans chose as our candidates for 2024. So you have one or the other. And with all due respect, for those out there that, you know, because as we get closer to the election, and I'm still not voting right now, but as we get closer to the election, you're seeing this desperation on both sides of the aisle. But when it comes to wrestling, the majority of it is anti-Trump. And if I want to use the podcast analogy, I don't want people tuning into me and tuning into Kevin and I because everybody else sucks. No, we want everybody to tune into us because we're good. If Jey Uso loses that championship Monday night on Raw, as I said this morning on the Weekend Report, what went down on last Monday's show is a great example of what separates Kevin and I and everybody else out there. Friday night on SmackDown, after Jey Uso, for some reason, shows up on SmackDown and gets in the face of Jacob Fatu, gets in the face of Solo Sikoa, you know, where he's just no yeet. I'm doing my own thing. Well, Jay, where were you the last 5 months when Solo Sikoa was doing all the shit that he was doing? Where were you 2 months ago, 3 months ago when he brought in Tongaloa, and Jacob Fatu? Suddenly he shows up. Why? Because after SmackDown went off the air, all the geniuses out there said, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bloodline show up on Raw and cost Jey Uso the championship. And then Jey Uso will go to Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso and say, let's do this. The difference between them and the difference between Kevin and I is they needed until after SmackDown for the light bulb to go on. We said that 5 minutes after Raw went off the air a week ago. Now, Jey Uso may not lose the championship, but you best damn believe the Bloodline are going to be the one to cause it. The Bloodline will cause Jey Uso to lose that championship. And when anybody out there says, oh my God, could you imagine Rikishi? You imagine Rikishi? Jey Uso loses that belt a month after he won it? Could you imagine Rikishi? Elizabeth, eat the big one. Eat the Elizabeth. Fuck WWE. Jay, go to AEW. Go to Tony Khan. They're treating you like shit. Nah, the Bloodline stuck it to you in the coolie. So that's the only way you do it. So the Bloodline will cause them the loss. Obviously, I'm trying to stay on the wrestling track because I know a lot of you out there don't like the political stuff. But no disrespect, man. But for everybody in the wrestling world, podcasters, wrestlers, Hall of Famers, commentators, managers, who pick anybody you want, journalists. When you have this really bizarre anger, whack job, reaction for the Undertaker interviewing Trump, why would I take advice from you? If you just say, listen, there's some of you people out there say, listen, I'm very concerned about women's rights, about not funding private abortions and not doing this and not that. At least you throw out reasons. To just sit there and say, Trump is a threat for women. And then you don't come up with an example why. I ain't taking advice from you. I'm not voting as of right now. And I don't plan on voting. Sorry. That's just the way I feel. I don't like either choice this year. But, this bizarre reaction to cancel Undertaker. I said it this morning on the weekend report. The fuck was that? All these people the last 20 years when Undertaker is wearing Republican stuff and guns rights and all this other stuff. And we all knew what Undertaker leaned. Why are people acting shocked? I just don't get it. I don't get it. And plus, usually I say, hey, if you could squeeze goofs out there, money, if the pie, and isn't that kind of funny? I laughed at Piers Morgan, is that his name, that did that Vince McMahon scandal a couple of days ago. With the exception of Charlie Caruso, every guest on there was, I do a podcast. I need extra views. I need to get noticed more. So podcaster. Dickhead Mushnick and Charlie Caruso. It's like, I just don't take the advice anymore. I'm just fed up with it. But this reaction, suddenly Batista's Superman. The guy who was wearing women's beads, people said was emaciated a month ago. Suddenly he's the big superhero of the world. Just bizarre, man. Some people out there, and even like Snoop Dogg, and I know I'm going all over the place. Trust me, we'll get back to wrestling in a second, but even Snoop Dogg, he went on that same fucking podcast that Swerve went on. That I get it, it's to discuss Black culture, and I get it's to celebrate Black culture and talk about problems of the world and confront issues. But it just seems like when you go there, you turn into almost, your voice sounds extreme in many ways. And for him to go up there and say that anybody that votes for Trump is a racist, to paint that broad of a brush, maybe some people are naive. Maybe some people think that this guy could turn the economy around. But to turn around and just say anybody out there that votes for him, and I'm not voting for him, but anybody out there that votes for him is a racist, it's like none of these people are convincing me why I should listen to them. None of them. This is a bizarre reaction. But I did get a kick of all those wrestling Twitter accounts that are suddenly inflamed and emotional about Undertaker interviewing Trump. And it's not about the interview. They could care less about the interview. But they realize, hey, I might get 5 million views out of this. If I turn around and say, fuck Undertaker, Batista is better than the Undertaker ever was. Yeah, you'll get 10 million views out of it. You made your $18. So there's a lot of people out there that are using this just to get ad revenue. They're just as whack. So just it's really bizarre. I'll say this. I'm going to say this. It's going to upset some people out there right now, and then we'll move on. In a way, I almost want to see Trump win. And I'll tell you why. Because the meltdown that I've seen the last day or two from people out there that eating a case of Snickers bars won't make them feel better. The meltdown that people are having towards The Undertaker. I almost want to see Trump win just to see this meltdown continue. I want to make it clear. I'm not voting for him, and I respect anybody out there that's voting for Kamala Harris. But what I have seen with this attempt to cancel the Undertaker, first of all, Undertaker don't give a fuck about any of us out there. Undertaker ain't sitting on social media. Michelle McCool is not crying at home and saying, Mark, all these people hate you now. Mark, all these people, look what they're saying. If they're saying Blutista is better than you, they don't care. They never cared. Undertaker don't give a shit. But to see the reaction, I almost want to see them melt completely. Seriously. Just melt. I'm melting. All right. Let's get into it, shall we? So what do we do here on a sit down? Very easy. We talk about whatever you guys that are live want to talk about. We usually stay on wrestling for most of the time. If something else outside of wrestling becomes a topic of a discussion, we have it. And we'll go till around 9:30-ish. We did that last week, and it was a nice, smooth show. Tomorrow night, Kevin and I will be live for the DTKC show. And we got some interesting discussions. We're going to cover that Pierce Morgan stuff with Vince McMahon. I will say this argument that Vince Russo had with Phil Mushnick. I know a lot of you out there are younger than me, and fuck you if you are. And I say that jokingly. Phil Mushnick has been the biggest asshole towards pro wrestling since the 80s. If anybody that follows me on my YouTube channel, and hopefully each one of you subscribes, if you go check out my old videos, go check out the 1985 wrestling clips. Phil Mushnick is on it. And he's on there from 85 saying, I'm a crusade against wrestling. But this guy has used Eddie Guerrero's death, has used some horrible tragedies and spun it in a really fucked up way. I'm sure a lot of you saw I think it was 1995 when Vince McMahon, when WWF used to have a TV show, I think on channel 55 here in New York. There was one episode where it only aired in New York where Vince McMahon was discussing Phil Mushnick. I'm sure the clip is on YouTube. I'm sure it's all over Twitter. That's how much Phil Mushnick was an asshole to wrestling. But he had this extra vendetta against the WWF because he never really targeted WCW all that much. He did to an extent. But there was a time where WCW was kicking WWF's ass. And still, Phil Mushnick really favored on hating on WWF. He was truly evil. But that argument that he had with Vince Russo, bro, I don't know. Something seemed like, do I think it was rehearsed? No, I don't think so. But I think both of them damn knew that they were going to be on there and they were going to be arguing with each other. Because where the fuck has Phil Mushnick been with that blonde disaster? Who's that woman? Banfield? Banfield? Is that her name? Michelle Banfield? Whatever the fuck it is. Where's Phil Mushnick all over that? Phil Mushnick has not been front and center. This seemed kind of like, we're going to cause a little bit of buzz on social media. Because that motherfucker's been quite absent in a lot of what's been going on with the WWE the last couple of years. So, I don't know. I'm not saying Vince Russo's anger to him was legit. It was legit. Because I remember what Mushnick was trying to do at that time. Go Google our website and just type in his last name and see how many times we talked about that asshole in the past. He had no idea Mushnick was going to be on. I don't know about that. That kind of seems to be a stretch. Maybe. I just don't think you blindside guest hosts. Like if you're going to be on a panel, you kind of want to know who the panel is going to be. Let me put it like this. What if the panel was Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff, and Jim Cornette? Nobody's going to know that they're going to be on? Nobody's going to possibly say, what's this douchebag be on? Fuck that. And they just disconnect live on TV. I don't buy that. I think they all knew. I think they knew. Salute to you also, Hassan. The Hassan Tahir Show. Big shout out to you, my friend. I'm not calling Vince Russo a liar, but maybe the truth is somewhat exaggerated. His anger was real. Trust me, that's years of venting right there. Was it a little bit extra dramatic for podcast purposes? Sure. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? I mean, he's getting over for it, but the idea that the panelists didn't know who was going to be on, I kind of, especially Pierce Morgan, these bigger shows, they're not rogue like that. This isn't like Jenny Jones, where a guy shows up and he reveals to his friend that he had a crush on him all along, and then the friend murders him. And I'm sure you know about that Jenny Jones fiasco. It's like, oh, I got a secret. You don't set people up like that. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Ashley Banfield, that's her name. That what I say, Michelle Banfield. Thank you, AS7607. Ashley Banfield. OTS Tribal Queen says, Russo isn't a liar. He actually believes his own bullshit. That's the most dangerous type of people. I'm not saying Russo, but when people actually believe, listen, that's been one of the biggest problems with social media. Social media for the last 20 years, people have created, and I haven't talked about this in like 5-6 years, if you all realize it, for the long-time friends out there. But how many years ago when we used to start talking about this was like 15 years ago that it started in MySpace, where people started to create this fake life about themselves, and they would post these updates on Twitter. Hey, I did this. Hey, I did this. Hey, I rescued an old lady from, a fall. And, oh, today I did this. And today I got, somebody profiled me. And today I did this and blah, 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 blah. And it's all fake. You just create this online profile and you start telling stories about yourself that none of it's true, but it sounds interesting. And you get a whole bunch of people online. I'm thinking about you. Hope everything's okay. And the problem is, sometimes you can't decipher who are the ones that are truly hurting out there and who are the ones that are just bullshitting for attention. That's why I stay off of social media as much as I can, because you get caught up in that and it's fucked up, man. It's fucked up. You see people legitimately having cries for help, and sometimes that gets ignored because so many people cry for help and it's bullshit. And you're a little skeptical at times. It's messed up, man. All right. Let's see. Anybody got any questions for us to talk about? Big shout out to everybody who's live, by the way. Curated Vibrations. What's up? SmackDown Tag Team Division put on a good show Friday night. They did. I don't know how many of you out there heard my discussion about the Motor City Machine Guns on this morning's show. I know because I didn't tweet it. A lot of people don't know. But the Motor City Machine Guns are going to have a difficult time getting over as big as they should. And the reason being is because Triple H could tweet until he's blue in the face that they are one of the most influential tag teams of our generation. Why did it take this long to bring them in? You're bringing them in at 40 plus years old. One of them looks like you bought Evan Bourne on Wish. The other guy looks like somebody that you would be buying a used car from. They come down to the ring and they have great chemistry. But for the last 5 years, we've been seeing flippy in AEW, in WWE, with a lot of luchadors, in NXT. We've seen so much flippy shit that unless you dive off the fucking mountain, it's like, oh, these two guys, wow, they can go. They're 40. They're kind of plain. And Chris Sabin talks as good as, probably everyday folk. My point is, the people that were on social media Friday night saying, oh, their debut was excellent. Couldn't have been any better. What an amazing performance. You're just looking for 500 people to retweet you and give that love emoji. Because no, they came out to quite a bit of silence. Because unfortunately, the WWE, you have to be a character, a personality, even DIY. You know, when Tommaso Ciampa's in the back and they're cutting the promo to go out to the ring and he's fucking throwing around things and banging things like, let's go. You're like hyping people up. Yeah. These two guys, oh, you know, I wish I could say this was a dream come true, but this was kind of like what I wanted to do, this, that. That's nice. That's the problem that they're going to have in WWE. I am not in any way, shape, or form criticizing Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. The Motor City Machine Guns are fucking a great tag team. But in the world of characters, from the Bloodline to the Judgment Day to this, to that, to this, with personalities and gimmicks and drama, just giving us great wrestling, we could find 50 people that could do what they do. So tell me why the WWE live audience is going to go out of their way and fucking lose their shit over the Motor City Machine Guns. Why? Are they heartthrobs? No. Are they, you know, these charismatic characters? Little. Again, I kind of think the Motor City Machine Guns probably would have been better suited for maybe another company, maybe even AEW, maybe Japan, maybe NXT at first. You know, have that intimate surrounding. I just am concerned in the world of the WWE universe because how many milquetoast bland wrestlers on the main roster have ended up getting over tremendously. You know, AJ Styles, when he first came in, you know, he didn't cut promos like he could do it now. Now, AJ Styles is fucking spectacular. But when you look at the last 15 years in the WWE, name me 5 people who were pretty much bland in the personality character department that got insanely over. It's not as many as you think. You might have a little bit of a difficulty. You know, you remember FTR? Some of you will remember this. When FTR was the revival in the WWE and they were trying to put him with Randy Orton to try to get a little bit, you know, a little bit more presence out there. I'm not trying to brag, but anybody remember when I went on one of the shows with Kev and Kev and I had a discussion about them when we both said that they're going to need a little comedy? They're going to need some comedy to get them over. And what happened literally a month later? Itching powder, the shower. Anybody remember that stuff with the revival? They needed them to do comedy. We talked about the grizzled young veterans when they were in NXT. I said, you know, I think they need a little bit of comedy. Remember they were doing those skits on the streets? Comedy. You know, the Motor City Machine Guns are going to have a difficult climb. Just having a loud, very minority voice on social media screaming to the world that they're amazing, they're epic, they're Hall of Famers, they're this, they're spectacular, they're this, they're that, they're this. It's kind of interesting to see the live reaction being so different than the noise on social media. They're not in sync. So if we're going to be real, the WWE mantra, Motor City Machine Guns are going to have a little bit of a difficult time getting themselves over to the status that they have deserved and earned. So trust me, I am supporting them. But I also look at the WWE machine and the WWE universe, and there's a few things missing there. MC. Cool. I don't know. I can't see that little extra line. DT, I have a Halloween joke for you. Why don't witches wear underwear? to get a better grip on the broomstick. I don't have. I got to get that soundbite. Hey, everyone, why don't witches wear underwear to get a better grip on the broomstick? Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Somebody said a joke the other day that I thought was so stupid. I can't remember what it is. Next week, I'll tell you. I told my wife the joke, and she thought it was awful. But I couldn't stop laughing. I can't remember the joke. Customer said it to me about a week ago, and I don't remember it right now. So, yeah, gabagool. 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 All right. We got Ronnie C. A little commentary on what we were talking about earlier with Undertaker. Thank you for the 20 spot, Ronnie. He says, I'm disgusted the wrestling community are trying to cancel Undertaker all because he interviewed Trump. I was just like you and not voting November 6th. But after this, I'm seriously going to vote, and I'm voting for Trump. Well, I'll tell you two things right off the bat. If you're going to vote, don't do it on November 6th, because that's the day after the election. November 5th is the election, Ronnie. Look, don't vote because you're mad at the internet wrestling community. Vote because you want to vote. Seriously. There's nothing right now that is making me want to go to the polls. Like, if I'm going to vote, I'm going to vote locally for local politicians, but I don't like either candidate. So, don't vote or not vote simply because of what wrestlers tell you or what fans tell you. Undertaker will handle himself just fine. Unfortunately, Undertaker will not be banned from WrestleMania. Unfortunately, Undertaker will not be blocked from Triple H. I am waiting for the next media scrum. I almost am thankful that WWE is going to be in Saudi Arabia, because I don't think anybody that is, first of all, none of these wrestling journalists are going to Saudi Arabia to cover it. So we don't have to worry about, hey, Tom Thumb from WrestlingVirgin.com. Hunter, Paul, what's your reaction to the Undertaker, endorsing Donald Trump as president? We don't have to worry about that in Saudi Arabia. By the time we get to Survivor Series, the election would have been long gone. And it's almost like if Cena wins, we riot. It's more like if Cena wins, we still go home. That's really what this comes down to. Whatever the outcome of the election is, maybe Trump wins, maybe Trump loses. But whatever the outcome is, we got to move on. So don't vote simply because of the net. Seriously. I don't know why I said Tom Thumb. So, all right. Shout out to Julius Tillery. What's up, Julius? What is my process for buying a car? Any car dealers, hip horror stories? Any car dealers, hip horror stories? By the way, thank you for asking. All is okay. Thank God. I feel 100% now after getting COVID. I still get a tiny little cough here and there. And sometimes I don't know if I just strain something, and trust me, my wife is all paranoid. She's like, get your lungs checked out, because once in a while I'll get this weird cough, especially if I'm talking for a long time. I just get this weird tickle in my throat that I never had before. She's like, you used to smoke, right? I'm like, yeah, but I quit in 2002. Yeah, well, maybe it's coming back to haunt you now. And I'm like, thank you. Make me feel better. As far as buying a car, first and foremost, Carfax. Carfax. That's not the Ric Flair place. What was that? What's the one with Ice-T and Ric Flair? Oh, God. Someone in the chat bail me out. Car Shield. That's what it was. Car Shield. Car Shield is a ripoff. Carfax. If you shop for a car, especially at a dealer, ask for the Carfax report. Don't order it online. You're going to spend $50 where you don't need to. Ask the dealer for the Carfax report because it'll give you the history of the car. If it's been involved in any accidents that you're not aware of, if there are any mechanical issues, maybe the odometer's been rolled back, even though that doesn't really happen in this day and age anymore, always get a Carfax to know the history of the car you're looking for. And plus, do your research online as far as dealers, reputable dealers. It's going to be a lot harder than you think, trust me, because I do car insurance for a living. And I have customers that will buy cars from certain dealers. And at one point or another, like John Starks. Anybody remember the New York Knicks, John Starks? John Starks! He owns a Kia dealer here in Queens on Northern Boulevard. And I have a Kia. My Kia is 11 years old. And I said, maybe next year I pay off some bills. If we get 9,000 T-shirts sold, because we only make about $2 each off of them, then maybe I could finance a Kia. And then I looked at the dealer online, and this person says the service was excellent. This other person says that I was treated like shit. This other one says I was profiled. This other person says the experience was amazing. Another one was I even got to meet John Starks. You're going to see difference of opinions. You have to sit, just do the research. And definitely two last things. And this goes out to any of you out there. Even if you're not looking at a car right now, trust me, you will thank me later. Always get car insurance quotes first, because some cars are insanely expensive. Teslas, my God, you have no idea how much more money a Tesla is to insure compared to another vehicle. Always look. If you have car insurance right now, you call your insurance broker or you call your carrier and just say, listen, I'm thinking about getting this kind of car. Could you tell me how much the insurance would be if I switch it over? Because some people make the mistake of saying, oh, I'm sure the insurance is similar, and then it's $2,000, $3,000 more a year. Trust me. I know people right now that bought Mercedes and Jeep are trying to give away cars. They have so many left over. And I've had more than one person get one, and then when I do the insurance, $2,000 more a year. The fuck? I get the same coverage. Why is it that much more? Well, this car is... Always get a car insurance quote first. And the last thing is always look at the value of the cars 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. See what cars hold their value. Because if you get a car, especially if you finance a car, and let's say 5 years from now you want to get rid of it, you don't want to buy a $60,000 car, and then 5 years from now you're like, the car's only worth $30,000? The fuck? Some cars really hold their value, and some cars, it's a joke. So always check a couple of years prior to see what the values are. Get the Carfax. Always check and see how much your insurance would be if you got the car, and research the dealers. Do not buy a car. I don't recommend ever buying a car off of somebody that is selling it on Facebook Marketplace or eBay auction, unless you're looking to get something cheap, $500 car, $1,000 car. So that's my advice. And he asks, any New York State insurance horror stories? As far as dealer, I don't know any horror stories with dealers, because the lemon laws in New York are pretty strict. But as far as insurance, I'll tell you one insurance horror story involving me. I'll give you two. And I promise you, most of you will appreciate this first one. These are quick. I got my license at 16 years old. So if you do the math, that is 1985. And when I tried to get liability insurance at the time, and it was the green Cadillac, if anybody remembers the green Cadillac in Scumbag Alley, that's the car I tried to insure. When I went to look to try to get insurance, a couple of my friends told me, they're like, hey, there's this woman that is on Queens Boulevard by Queens Center Mall. She's right by Walden's Books. You know, she's a big fat black lady. She looks like Divine, only black. But you go there and you sweet talk her, you tell her how beautiful she is, and she'll hook you up. So I'm like, all right. So I went there. Hey, baby, what can I do for you, sugar? And I'm like, I need to get car insurance. You know, this is my first car under my own name. Oh, honey, I'll take care of you. And she's setting it up. And I think the insurance was like maybe like $1,800 a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in 1985, that is a lot of money. And I got my insurance. Then about 2 months later, I get a letter in the mail. Please send a copy of your marriage certificate. Please send a copy of your defensive driver certificate. And I'm like, I'm not married. I don't know what the fuck a certificate is. I didn't have nothing. And I called her up. I'm like, they're asking me for this stuff. Sugar, didn't you tell me you were married? No, I never said, well, the insurance is going to go up a little bit, sugar. And next thing I know, I had to pay it, but my insurance doubled. Because how she would hook everybody up is she would lie on the application. She would say that you were married. She would say you have this. She would say you have that. So you walk in there and the insurance is cheap until the insurance company starts asking questions. And the other thing was, when I was saying earlier about always know your price, anybody remember an insurance company named Merchants Mutual? In 1989, that sounds like Public Enemy song. I got an 88 Cadillac Eldorado, and it was only 1 year old, and I went to an insurance broker that sold Merchants Mutual car insurance. This is now about 4 years after I got my license. And, you know, I got the insurance, set everything up, bought this car brand new. And then all of a sudden, like a month later, like the bill is almost double. And I found out that the guy said that, you know, I went to school upstate New York and I did this and I did that. But I had no idea that this person put all the information down. So what ended up happening was my insurance was like $4,000 a year and I couldn't afford it. And I had just gotten a car. So my father took the car. And my father's like, I'll use the car. So my father gave me the money for the car. And every day for about 9 months, he would come home with the car. And I would just like look at it with this, you know, you remember Austin Theory? Remember when Austin Theory was supposed to face, I think, Carmelo Hayes or something? No, it was supposed to be Grayson Waller. And I think Grayson Waller says, yeah, he'll kick your ass. And Austin Theory looked at him with those sad puppy eyes like, why did you do that to me? I would have that look every time my father would come home at night because he's driving my car. And if you think I'm lying, Google it. In 1990, there was a nor'easter that hit Howard Beach, Queens. My father one day was working at his store and he had the car parked across the street and the street got flooded because of a nor'easter that came in. And the car ended up underwater and the car got totaled. So not only did I lose the car to my dad, the car ended up underwater 9 months later and the car was gone. Yeah, that was kind of brutal. But the coolest story of them all, the coolest story is, a lot of you know, I still have my black Lincoln Mark VII, 1991, my black LSC. I still have it to this day. I've had it for a couple of decades now. And I always wanted that car. And in 1987, when I was graduating St. Francis Prep, my father said to me, if you graduate with a 90 average, I'll buy you any car you want. So me, it was either convertible Eldorado or I wanted a Lincoln Mark VII. And I started senior year of high school in 1986 into 87, and I cut out of school. If I show you my junior year high school picture and my senior year high school picture, I'm about 40 pounds heavier because every day we would go to the diner. Every day I would be waxing my used car across the street. I cut out of school so much in senior year. I graduated with an 89 average. And my father said, no car. No car. So I was like, motherfucker. I graduated high school under a 90 average. So my father did not get me a car. So many years later, somebody was selling this black LSE. And I'm like, I'm buying that son of a bitch just to show him I got the fucking car anyway. And I still got that car to this day, for real. Mark is asking, what are the odds of Shane McMahon going into the Hall of Fame? Not right now. Not right now. There's no need for Shane McMahon to go in. You know what sucks? You know what really sucks? And it's going to happen until after he's dead. Even if he's exonerated from everything. Even if Janelle Grant came out and said, I lied. Vince McMahon will never go into the WWE Hall of Fame while he's alive. That sucks when you really think about it. The guy that honestly has earned a spot in the Hall of Fame is never going to go in because of all of this shit that's going on. And I don't see Shane going in before Vince. I just don't see it. I don't think Stephanie will go in before Vince. I just don't see it happening. I mean, that would be a big FU to Vince. And listen, Vince is a little bit like Fabulous Moolah, my friends. You know, let's be honest. For everybody out there that thinks Vince McMahon is the devil and thinks that anybody supporting him that's not his family are just as evil, tell that to John Cena's face. Tell that to Austin's face. Tell that to Undertaker's face. Tell it to other people's face, Pat McAfee and others. It's interesting how John Cena is going to have this beloved retirement tour, but Vince McMahon's like his second dad still. And that's cool for everybody out there. But if John Cena were to interview Vince, suddenly there's this unreal hatred. See, as long as my deceiving eyes don't see it, I'm truly not angry. When Cena has this retirement tour in 2025, you look at everybody online that is gushing, Cena must wrestle CM Punk. Cena's last match must be against Randy Orton. I want to see Cena versus Gunther. Then meanwhile, Vince McMahon is the devil. And anybody that aligns with Vince McMahon is just as horrible as him. I want to see Cena versus Gunther. Those are the whack jobs that you just sit there and I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at you. You're one retarded motherfucker. And there's trillions of them online. So when I see this outrage going on, you know, let's be a little bit honest here. You know, Undertaker supporting Trump, Cena supporting Vince. But as long as I don't see Cena hanging out with Vince right now, then, yeah, I'll kind of act like maybe Cena doesn't really support him anymore. Benjamin don't want to see Cena. Listen, I get that some of you don't like Cena. My co-host doesn't like him at all. But people will truly miss him in the ring years from now. Sometimes even those that you can't stand years from now, you'll be like, you know what? I do kind of miss the vibe, the energy, you know, when that guy was in the ring. We've had it with other wrestlers in the past. You kind of do miss it at the end. So, no, one fall, trust me, John Cena, over those years, Super Cena rubbed a lot of fans the wrong way. You know, Thugonomics for some people is Cena's, their favorite Cena of them all. Will Viral Sport, my thoughts on Harley Cameron from AEW. Her promos are great. and funny. She's also getting better in the ring. What are my thoughts? Harley Cameron is excellent. She's obviously still learning, but I like Harley Cameron. The problem that I see, and I don't know how many of you will agree with me on this. The problem I see is similar to what I see with Queen Aminata and a few others out there. Just because they're having high-profile matches, and even if they're competitive but lose, the problem is I don't feel growth. I don't feel growth. Like, you will see wrestlers for other companies that they'll lose multiple matches, but you feel like they're growing, they're building. They're getting better and better and better, and they're getting more competitive in the ring. And a lot of Queen Aminata's matches, when the match is over, I think, in fact, I think Bully Ray just vented on Queen Aminata's match versus Mercedes Moné, that Mercedes did not leave Queen Aminata better than prior to the match. You always leave your opponent a little bit better than where they were before. And I feel that way a lot with Harley Cameron. I feel that way with some of the younger women out there. On the men's side, too, there are some wrestlers that, just because there's a little internet buzz that suddenly, let's put the energy behind them. But then 6 months go by and nothing really has happened. All I know is that she is good. She is excellent at this stage of the game, and she's just getting better. I just feel that a lot of the matches that she loses, it feels like she doesn't come off better than what she was before. I got news for you. Back in the 80s, when I used to watch WWF, it was more jobber matches than anything else. But I'll give you two people that always stood out to me. And I think Chaos, if he's tuning in live, he may agree with me on this. If Kev is around, Kev will absolutely agree with me on this. A very, 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 very young Eddie Gilbert and Curt Hennig. They were in the WWF in 1983. And they were a jobber tag team for a while. But what was happening is, as they went along, they would ultimately lose every match. But as they would go along, they'd get a little bit more offense, a little bit more competitive, and the crowd would get behind them. And you would think, oh my God, they could actually pull it off. No, they didn't. But you always felt as time went on, getting a little bit more, getting a little bit more, getting a little bit better. Unfortunately, Eddie Gilbert, we know what happened with him. Curt Hennig ended up leaving, and, the rest is history. But, you felt that people were left better than where they were before. That's what AEW needs to do a little more. For those that are losing almost every match, you have to make them feel like they're a little bit better than where they were before. And for some people out there, I don't feel like there's growth. So, yeah, Eddie Gilbert and Curt Hennig were very, very talented and very well liked in 83. They were obviously too young, but man, the crowd got behind them. See, if you go back and you look at jobbers, at the time, Pete Sanchez, who just recently passed, Israel Matea, even to a certain extent, you look at, trying to think who else, Johnny Rods. By 83, these talents were there just to put over other wrestlers. You didn't see them wrestle, and when the match was over, you're like, SD Jones feels like he's one step closer. Maybe he'll pull out a victory here and there. Mac Rivera. Like, these wrestlers were there. They get a certain amount of offense, and then they lose, but you felt like there was no growth. But when it came to, like, Curt Hennig and Eddie Gilbert and others, you felt like there was a little Quick Draw McGraw. You felt like there was a little bit more growth as their matches went on. AEW needs to do that a little bit better with the younger talent out there. So, Indigo, did I see the back and forth between Tony Khan and JD from New York? Yes, I did. I did. And my honest thoughts on it? my honest thoughts on it, JD has a huge following on YouTube. He's got a huge following on social media. Dax could talk until he is blue in the face. JD has influence, a lot of influence. And when that powerful of a voice criticizes a product, people do listen. The problem that Tony Khan has, the problem that Dax has, the problems that other people have, is that they seem to only focus themselves around the voices that have big presences, a big presence on social media and on YouTube. You know, that's what it comes down to. Because for the first couple of years, JD was one of their biggest supporters. And nobody in AEW never bothered to say, hey, man, thank you for the support. Man, thank you for what you do. You know, I don't like, you know, some of the criticizing of others, but, you know, thank you for, you know, really supporting what we do. They didn't give a shit. Now they give a shit because JD is no longer this, you know, big fan of what AEW does. Now he's criticizing it, and now they're like, uh-oh. You know, and the problem is, see, like, listen, I'm not comparing what I do to JD, all right? I pulled back from YouTube, not because of him and others, because we don't do our shows at the same times and everything, but because there's so much clickbait, there's so much bullshit on YouTube, and everything is negative, 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 negative. If you write, here's a good example. And I'm sure almost everybody tuning in right now saw this. On Twitter, some douchebag, and yes, I'm calling you a douchebag, you know who you are, posted a picture of a whole bunch of Republicans, wrestlers who vote Republican. It showed Undertaker, Triple H, and a whole bunch of others. Cody Rhodes is in there as well. And when you click on it, it's got millions and millions of views. And when you look at it, it's got thousands of responses. And all you read is, bro, Cody Rhodes has vocally, you know, criticized Trump. Why do you have Cody on here? You think the person's like, oh shit, my bad. Let me put up the corrected photo. No, that was done on purpose. Because if that person would have left Cody out of that picture, it would have been one of thousands of photos online that people have posted. It would have got no attention at all. But let me purposely put somebody wrong like Cody Rhodes, and everybody will come after my ass. Brother, why do you have Cody in here? Cody don't like Trump. That's done by design. That is all you see on social media now. That is what you see on YouTube. You know, I'm still a supporter of Eric Bischoff's stuff, but you look at his podcasts and you look at the number of views from 8 months ago and look at it now, and you see the decline. Why? Because people are kind of tired. Negative Tony Khan, negative AEW. AEW is not getting a TV deal. AEW this, negative this, negative this, Tony this, Tony this. There, I killed WCW. You know, and maybe Vince Russo said he killed WCW, but you know, after a while, people are like, man, I'm kind of tired of hearing the same shit over and over again. Oh, let me talk about this fictitious WCW Hall of Fame, and it gets less views than the fucking dyslexic channel. You know, it got like 3,000 views when it came out. Nobody wants to see the positive stuff. Nobody wants to see bland stuff. You got to purposely inflame to get a reaction. And I don't want to deal with that shit on here. But when you see on the audio side of what we do, everywhere across the globe now, we're in the top 30. And you see on the shirts, there's no other podcast out there that's even close of the amount of shirts. So yes, and 20-year shirt is a special shirt. But in order for it to be in the top 3, even above Will Ospreay, and even above Joe Hendry, and even above those people, that means people care about what we do enough that they're going out and buying shirts. They're not doing it for pity. They're not doing it because the shirt looks spectacular. People are doing it because they invest in the shows. The point I'm getting at is that unless you are vocal on Twitter or on YouTube, AEW don't give a fuck. AEW don't acknowledge you, whether it's positive or it's negative. It's when you tweet and it's when you YouTube, that's when they take notice. And that is one of the biggest mistakes that Tony Khan has made and others like Dax have made. Because it's the people out there that don't tweet, that don't plaster YouTube every day with videos, that if you lose those people, it's just as damaging as someone who yells and complains online or is very calm about it. And the thing is that they're only concerned with the social media presence. And that's a big mistake because, look, I saw Disco Inferno today, right, on Twitter. Like, I see that Tony Khan, that JD is no longer, this big supporter of AEW. And, after a couple of years, we've been saying this for 3 years. Meaning we've been saying this way before even those guys were saying anything. But I don't sit here and say, look, guys, look at my thumbnails from 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago. We saw this a mile away. When I put Dixie Carter and I spelled it Kharter, and this was 4 years ago? The point is that unless you tweet or unless you have this big presence on YouTube, he's really not affecting the internet. He's really not affecting YouTube because people are searching for tweets and there's none there. So I don't pay attention to it. The problem is they only focused on the people that have that presence. And meanwhile, they're ignoring everybody else that has been seeing this for a while. And then you got to remember, too, there are other people out there that were gushing over AEW. And, Tony Khan gets upset. And I want to say this, and this is why Tony Khan made a huge mistake with JD. Tony Khan got upset because JD said to someone that they're stupid. Okay. Tony, with all due respect, for 4 fucking years, when even JD was one of your biggest supporters, there was an entire social media presence calling any WWE supporter that criticized AEW stupid. And you didn't say a goddamn thing about it. You never addressed that really fringe element of the internet wrestling community from 4 or 5 years ago. You added to it, calling WWE to Harvey Weinstein, saying that there's bots and everything else. You let this metastasize and develop for 4 years. You're getting upset because JD tells one person that they're stupid? What about an entire fucking AEW community that's been telling people they're stupid even 4 years ago? The referees, they're ignoring, like, everybody does a run-in and the referees are just there and Aubrey Edwards looks like she's a surfer and shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. This is the most amazing shit that we've ever seen. 5 stars, 10-star match. This is better than any WWE match I've ever seen. Shut the fuck up. He didn't say nothing. JD, fucking say it 10 times more. This motherfucker is only coming after you because of the size of your viewership and followership online. You have influence. And when you were praising the shit out of AEW, even when you would say to some people that they're stupid, you never saw this guy saying, remember what I've said for years, guys? I said this 4 years ago. I wish AEW would say, listen, guys, appreciate your support. Guys, love what everybody's doing, helping us grow. But please don't criticize fans. We're all wrestling fans at the end of the day. Please don't, they just sat there and enjoyed it. Watching this this total war. They wanted the war. WWE is the enemy. It's WWE versus AEW. All the wrestlers root for each other, but in Tony Khan's eyes, WWE is the enemy. He built that for 4 years. So this guy sat there and did nothing, and now you have JD, who has a big voice, criticizing their product. You don't like it? Oh, too fucking bad, you rich little baby. You didn't do nothing for 4 years. So now deal with it. That's what I feel. That's how I feel. I don't like calling anybody stupid. I really don't like calling anybody stupid. But, you reap what you sow. And when it was pro AEW, Tony, you didn't do a fucking thing about it. Dax and everywhere else, you didn't go on social media and say, guys, look, love all the support and everything, but could you tone down the climate? You know when they would tone down the climate? When somebody blew their brains out, or somebody got beat up, or there was a tragedy. Then it's like, oh, can we all just be better? We're better than that. Come on, at the end of the day, we all love professional wrestling. Come on, let me be better than that. It takes a tragedy for them to say, listen, can we lower the rhetoric? Can we stop abuse? No, they didn't say a fucking thing. So what JD is doing is giving them truth medicine. They don't like it. Oh, this tastes horrible. When it tastes like candy for 3-4 years, oh, it's great. It's great. They sat back and did nothing. Now too fucking bad. That's what I think about it. JD, don't change a damn thing that you're doing. All right. Let's see. I'm checking. How long are we at? Is there any Mets score right now? I would love to know the Mets score. I don't think they're going to pull it out. Bob the Builder, thank you for the 2 spices. Proud of JD for not sucking up to Tony Khan. It's not about sucking up to Tony Khan. It's, expressing a criticism. See, listen, you know what's different about JD from everyone else? Oh boy. I would love to call out this guy by name. I will not call him out by name. I will give you hints, though. The first letter of his podcast begins with the letter J. It is not Jason Solomonster, but there's someone else. And you guys will know exactly who I'm talking about. This guy, for 3 years, gushed about AEW. Not only would he praise every fucking thing that would be on TV, he had to use capital letters, emojis, this, and all his dramatic shit. And AEW never acknowledged him. There are people out there that do that, and make sure they hashtag the world, because please notice me. Please notice that I am literally giving you a verbal blowjob right now. I'm literally sucking the penis of your company. And I'm doing it for 3 years, and it's getting a little bit tiresome. Could you please acknowledge me? Make me feel that, oh my God. And then when they acknowledge you, it becomes their wallpaper till infinity. Tony Khan liked my tweet. It's wallpaper now. How old are you? 19? Or you're 35? So this person, after 3 years of gushing about AEW and getting no love whatsoever, man, I can't even get a backstage pass. Can't even get a... Now this person writes criticism exactly like JD and even uses the same style and the same words. And this guy has a podcast too, and it's on. I'm telling you, it's not Joe Cronin. No. Joe Cronin's friend of the family. Russ says just ALYX is so toxic. I'm not going to say if it's him or if it's not him. I'm not going to say who it is. You probably could all figure it out. But there's people out there that just say this stuff just to be acknowledged. Look, if you like what you see, wow, this fucking match is great, and you want to react to it, that's fine. But when you have to make sure that you include this emoji and this word capitalized and this bold print and this italicized and go in and trying to find like perfect GIF files, animated files with it, and then you hashtag Tony Khan, All Elite Wrestling, hashtag the world. You know what you're doing? Why are you hashtag it? Please, oh, well, I want them to have feedback. No, please let this be the tweet that they notice. Please. If there's a God, please. That's what happens online. And again, JD has the biggest influence out there. And now suddenly they don't like it. Too bad. DJ is asking me how come I didn't watch The Sopranos. DJ 858, the truth is I have watched some episodes and I totally understand why people call it one of the greatest TV shows of all time. That guy, I can't remember his name right now, the one that did the voice for the dog on Family Guy. Anybody remember his name? He was good friends with my father and my mother. I've showed pictures, them hanging out at my parents' house for Christmas parties and stuff. Not Brian, it's not Brian, the other dog. No, it's not Seth MacFarlane. Was Seth MacFarlane on The Sopranos? No, the other guy, the other dog. My God, the one with the funny sideburns. He did a commercial with Taz. Was it 1-800-COLLECT or something? Paulie Walnuts. Thank you, Josh. My father was very good friends with Paulie Walnuts. Paulie Walnuts is from our neck of the woods. And, he was a very good friend. I have a lot of pictures of him hanging out in our house. But here's the thing. When I met Paulie Walnuts for the first time, I watched a couple of episodes. When we met Big Pussy, and a lot of you remember the night, because we went out to dinner, my family, and Big Pussy was sitting at the table next to us, and he comes over to my dad. Hey, Nick, what's going on? And I'm like, who is this guy? You don't know Big Pussy from The Sopranos? And it just so happened that same week, Big Pussy was accused of throwing his girlfriend out of a moving car. I think that was the story. So I watched a couple of episodes of The Sopranos when Paulie Walnuts was in it, when Big Pussy was in it. I just never really got into it because I come from Howard Beach. I come from, the era of John Gotti. A lot of you know the story of me being an honorary member of his club way back when. Used to work with his nephew. My own family was in the Gotti documentary on Netflix. You've seen the clips. My point is, when you watch The Sopranos, to me, it was too sensationalized, might be the word. Like when you deal with real people, real gangsters, wannabe gangsters, cardboard gangsters, you watch The Sopranos and, there's aspects of it that I was like, come on, they wouldn't really do that in real life. That's why I didn't like many gangster flicks. Like I enjoyed Goodfellas and I enjoyed Casino and a few others. But, I brought this up not too long ago. Something of Bensonhurst. I mean, I'm trying to remember his name, but something of Bensonhurst. I couldn't stand it. Watching other gangster flicks with Italians, I'm like, no Italian guy is going to act like that in real life. Even when I watch New Jack City, when they're in the fucking bar and the gangster, the Italian mafia guy is like he's like going like this. And I'm like, what he fucking does that in 1990? The way, the mannerisms, it was not believable. So, all right. Spike of Bensonhurst, that's what it was. It was just some movies. So I never really got behind The Sopranos. But, I did enjoy some of what, but I just never got into it to watch the series. I don't know. It just felt fake in a lot of ways, Casino was good. Roderick Howard asks, do I think Cody risks losing some fans in his feud with Kevin Owens? Logically, KO has every right to be upset with Cody. Kevin Owens himself is pretty popular. Nah, Cody Rhodes. You know, I laugh at social media, the ones that say, you know, Cody Rhodes' championship reign has sucked. It's been underwhelming, absolutely. But when this guy is the 5th most selling person on Fanatics in any sports, when this guy sells out the #1 merchandise seller on WWE more times than not, you can't deny it. The guy is just that much over. When he does events and he's in that ring, you know, that you cannot base it on a social media presence, you know, of people out there that micro analyze every little thing out there. Cody Rhodes' reign is lacking opponents that would be a viable threat for his championship. But guys, let's be honest. Same thing happened with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, for 2.5 years of his run, did any of you out there truly ever feel, you know, he might lose it? Outside of Cody, WrestleMania 39, did you truly think that Sami Zayn could have dethroned Roman in Canada? You really think? And then what? Did you think Daniel Bryan was going to do it? Did you think Kevin Owens was going to do it? Did you think Finn Balor was going to do it? Did you think AJ Styles was going to do it? Roman Reigns was so dominant with that character. Anybody that he faced on a premium live event, we knew what the outcome was. It was just, we didn't care because the storyline was so good and his in-ring work was very good as well. You just wanted to see how it ended up. I mean, you look at his reign. How many times during that reign did you honestly feel that he could legitimately? The only time I felt that was WrestleMania 39. So Cody is dealing with the same thing right now. But Kevin Owens is a master at what he does. See, Kevin Owens is a heel. But Kevin Owens is not your typical heel. He is doing it because he feels betrayed. I mean, my God, Kevin and I said this, a month and a half ago? That the minute Cody agreed to work with Roman, that's it. That's it. The guy that caused the most angst to Randy Orton and Kevin Owens for the last couple of years, Cody Rhodes aligns with. That is unacceptable. Cody Rhodes is Kevin Owens is the first one to turn. You don't have Randy Orton do it at the same time. You don't get rid of 2 bullets in one shot. You want to stretch this out a little bit. So right now, Kevin Owens is the first to turn. Down the line, Randy Orton will be the next to turn. Randy Orton, there's no need to turn him heel right now. Randy Orton is still over as an amazing baby face. There's no need to turn Randy Orton right now. But down the line, Randy Orton will turn. And he'll be next in line to go up against Cody Rhodes. You should learn now, after a year and a half, that WWE takes the scenic route in a lot of these storylines. Stuff that sometimes would only take 3 weeks to develop, WWE will make it develop in 6 or even more. So this is a slow burn. But Kevin Owens feels in his heart he hasn't changed. Cody's the one that changed. Cody, let the bloodline rot. Let them all disintegrate on their own. Don't get involved with it. Look at what Roman Reigns caused us the last couple of years. Roman Reigns has a problem with Souls of Gold. Let him deal with it. Let them fucking all go off a cliff. That's not our business. Cody, leave it alone. That's the storyline. That's the storyline. Cody You know what the funny thing is about it? And you could kind of look at the Wyatt Six as a great example of it. Kevin and I went there on Monday, and we criticized WWE's creative handling of Wyatt Six. Wyatt Six have been on TV for 6 months. And what have they accomplished? Nothing. Other than cinematic entrances and, giving opportunity to some wrestlers who were slighted. What did they accomplish? Chad Gable suddenly see the light that they got through Chad Gable, and Chad Gable's now a changed person? No, he's the same asshole he was before they fucked with Chad Gable. Did anything change? No. Let's confront the bullies. That's what the Wyatt Six is. Let's confront the bullies of the WWE. What did the Wyatt Six accomplish? We won some matches. Yeah, but Chad is still the same scumbag he was before you started fucking with him. What did you accomplish? So Cody Rhodes is the same thing. Cody Rhodes aligned with Roman Reigns to win a pay-per-view match. The Bloodline are still the tag team champions. Solo Sikoa still thinks he's the tribal chief. They're still causing havoc on SmackDown. What did Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns truly accomplish at Bad Blood? A goose egg. Cody Rhodes accomplished nothing because the Bloodline is still standing. The Bloodline are still doing what they did before Bad Blood. That's why Kevin Owens has a problem with it. Cody, you actually aligned with the person that caused me the biggest headache the last couple of years. And what did you accomplish? Nothing. That's the story with Kevin Owens. So in Kevin Owens' heart and his mind, he hasn't changed. It's Cody is the one that changed. One Fold thinks that Y6 is the worst thing in 2024 so far. I don't think so. Overall, I'm still digging the Wyatt Six because I'm the type of wrestling fan that not everybody needs to have a 3 or 4-star match. That some characters in wrestling are there for different purposes. When I grew up in the 80s watching WWF, Roddy Piper, when he first came in, most of what Roddy Piper was doing was Piper's Pits. We weren't at the time, man, I wish Roddy Piper would wrestle more. No, we would be like, you know what? I'd like to see Roddy get his ass kicked once in a while. But Roddy Piper was used more for Piper's Pits. Miss Elizabeth was the manager, the valet for Macho Man. Nobody was saying, I wish you would get in the ring and wrestle. Some people fit different roles for wrestling. For the Wyatt Six, their entrance, the tribute to Bray, the cinematic part of it is great. But you have 5 talented wrestlers behind those masks. If you had people behind those masks that don't wrestle or are pretty fucking awful at what they do, okay, I finally found a spot for someone. Sometimes you have a wrestler that's not very good and they end up becoming a commentator. They end up becoming a referee. Look at some of the WWE referees. Those were wrestlers that couldn't cut it. So they're different roles now. So you could give people roles that don't involve matches, but that's not why the Wyatt Six were brought in. The Wyatt Six, creatively, the presentation is fabulous, but WWE, they have done very, very little with them. That's why I'm hoping on Raw, we find out next week that 2 members of the Wyatt Six are in that tag team tournament, number 1 contenders tournament. So, all right, we're going to start wrapping this up. We're at an hour and 24 minutes. So, last call for questions. Last call for questions. Bob the Builder, thank you for the 5-spot, my friend. Favorite CM Punk moments from his AEW run? Before Brawl Out, I thought he had a great run, was carrying the quality of the show. Favorite moments. Do I have any here? I don't know where they are. I was looking for the ice cream wrappers. I have so many of them. No, CM Punk, listen, one thing about CM Punk and AEW. Would CM Punk returned to the WWE if he never went to AEW? At this stage of the game, I'm not so sure. And the reason is Vince has only been out of there for less than a year. He left, he came back, left permanently. To me, I don't think that would have been enough time to convince CM Punk to get back into the world of professional wrestling and go directly to WWE. I don't think the indies is strong enough where CM Punk would have been working indies. I personally think that if CM Punk never went to AEW, I don't know if he would have been in the WWE by now. Somebody is saying that he said he considered going to WWE instead of AEW. I don't buy that at all. I think he's saying that because he's with WWE now. CM Punk was hated amongst WWE management. He went to AEW a couple of years ago. Vince was still at the helm. Vince was not bringing back CM Punk. So when CM Punk says, I really thought about going to WWE, bullshit. Let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest. That's being said because he's in that company now. I think AEW originally gave CM Punk enough money and enough drive and enough of a reason to, you know what, I'm getting older. My wife, we have a family. My wife is involved with women in wrestling. How many years do I have left in the ring? Maybe I could help some of the stars of tomorrow. I think CM Punk wanted to be a coach also in AEW. When you hear the stories of Hobbs and Jay Cargill and others saying, CM Punk went out of his way to help me with this, and, he didn't have to do this, but he did. I think deep down inside, I think CM Punk wants to teach and mentor the wrestlers of tomorrow. But obviously we saw what we saw. So look, CM Punk, his work in AEW was great. The stuff with MJF was great. The other matches that he had, his match with Hobbs, I still remember. CM Punk's run in AEW is fine. The only thing that was concerning was injury. When he first got injured, I thought, okay, he hasn't wrestled on a regular basis for years. So his body, he's getting older. Maybe he's got to, get that flexibility back. Maybe he's just got to put in the reps. Then he got injured again. And then he goes to WWE and gets injured at the Royal Rumble. Then you start thinking, can this guy stay healthy anymore? And I got news for you. You look at wrestlers like Tegan Knox. You look at the injuries that CM Punk has had. And I guarantee you, if any of you out there ever get the opportunity to interview Rey Mysterio, I'm sure Rey Mysterio said this before, and if he hasn't, if you ask it the right way, I think he will admit it. You get enough injuries, it really, really fucks your brain up. Because in the back of your mind, you're worried that I could get injured again. I could get injured tonight. I get injured tomorrow. What happens if I get injured again and that's it? In the back of your mind, when that keeps, it's almost like, listen, I don't want to compare it to the C word, but anyone out there that's ever dealt with that and you get in remission is great and everything, but in the back of your mind, you're like, holy shit, what if this comes back? You always worried, like, could it happen again? Could it happen again? Could it happen again? You get enough injuries, it gets to the point where it kind of starts playing mind games on you. So I think CM Punk at some point was like, look, I may not have a year or two left. I might get injured again and that might be it. You look at others, Kenny Omega and others. Kenny Omega, I think, went on record once recently and said, look, if I get a serious injury like that again, I'm done. It might sound a little dramatic to some people out there, but no, I mean, some injuries, it really starts playing mind games on you. So I think CM Punk's run in AEW was fine. I just wish he didn't get injured like he did. And obviously the politics. One thing about AEW, and I think this is the difference. Getting back to JD and Tony Khan for a second, I think this is the big difference with AEW right now. 3-4 years ago, we were talking about the foundation of AEW is flawed. Some of you may remember 5 years ago, I said that AEW is going to be the first millennial promotion. If any of you think that I'm full of shit, go Google it. 5 years ago, I said AEW is going to be the first millennial promotion. It's going to be that first promotion that is going to cater to this really whack element of social media, kind of like what the Ring of Honor fanboys were 15 years ago. It's going to be that first promotion that's going to be filled with snowflakes. I said this 5 years ago. It's on record. And for 3 years straight, from Cornette to everybody else, what did they say? I kind of feel bad for Tony Khan. Tony Khan, it's all these people around him, and Tony is in a bad situation because, all these people are so important behind the scenes that Tony is kind of like stuck. Like Tony is helpless. How many of you remember that? How many years, 3 straight years, you heard all these people saying, and I'm not taking credit to be the only problem. I'm sure a lot of people said it out there, but never felt sympathy for Tony Khan. This motherfucker is the one that built that foundation. He's Snowflake King #1. You look at this foundation, you look at the pillars. He's the one that put the cement in there. He's the one that broke the champagne bottle on the thing. He's the one that probably mixed the cement himself. I never had sympathy for Tony Khan. This guy, he's a billionaire. This is a little boy. He's a rich little boy. Never changed. Now suddenly everything is Tony Khan's fault. Suddenly everything is Tony Khan's fault. What happened to the Tony Khan sympathy? So, douche, what do I think is the most likely to be responsible for the Moxley faction in turn? Well, there's a lot of ways they could go. The Young Bucks seems too obvious. I personally think the Shane McMahon thing would be great. Shane McMahon, if he showed up in AEW, it obviously, listen, I was going to go on record 2-3 weeks ago and say before 2025 is over, next year, AEW will draw 1 million viewers again. The only reason why I never actually ended up saying that was because I reminded myself that Max and TBS are going to be splitting viewers. So you're going to have lower numbers on TBS, and then you'll have your Dave Meltzers of the world to say, well, you got to remember there's viewership on Max as well. And even though we don't have the numbers for Max, we have to assume that it's got to be 100, 200,000 viewers. So you add the two together, AEW is doing fine. That's what we're going to get in 2025. But if Shane McMahon ends up being involved with this, that is going to definitely pop numbers. It's going to pop numbers. How long it lasts, I don't know. Because you got to remember, at the end of the day, you could listen, one thing I will disagree about what JD said to Tony Khan, he said, fix creative. Mauro Ranallo, I praised the shit out of it last night. Mauro Ranallo, Don Callis called Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. And people are like, oh, you got to hire Mauro Ranallo. That's one of the things I would change AEW immediately. Get Excalibur out of there and put Mauro Ranallo in there. Yeah. Have Mauro Ranallo call garbage. Like, if something sucks, putting a new label on it, or giving it a different commercial, that's nice and everything. Well, look, it's got new packaging. Oh my God, look, so-and-so is selling it now. I got to buy it. Then you open up. Oh, it's the same shit as before. Marinello's not the answer. Marinello is going to make something that sucks seem like it's that much better. Oh, when you say fix creative, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Well, you need to put someone in place over here. You have to give this power to so-and-so. What happens if Shane McMahon comes in? Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Well, Shane, I want you to do this tonight. Dude, what if we do this? Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. You know, just because he comes in doesn't mean suddenly the writing is going to be great. So when you talk about specific things, you know, what about creative? You know, oh, it's got to have better storylines. What do you mean by that? That's like going to a restaurant and saying the food sucks. Okay, well, what about the food that sucks? Everything about it sucks. You have to be a little bit more specific here. You know, what about creative sucks? Instead of complaining, this tastes like shit, this smells like shit, that looks like shit, that tastes horrible. Oh my God, that tastes like the inside of an asshole. Oh my God, that smells like fucking rotten pussy. That smells like this. This is horrible. How's about, you know, I would do this to fix that. You know what? I would change this. You know, they should have this. They should consider this. Very easy to say, that sucks, 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 that sucks. Wow, you're a genius. Take my money. That's the problem with the majority of the IWC out there. You know, I watched journalists, let's just say media. I've watched media in the last 24 hours write these long paragraphs, and it's not JD, and it's not Jason, and it's not Joe Cronin. It's not the J's. It's not the J's. We got to call him the Triple J from now on. It's not the Triple J. But I watched the media for the last 24 hours write these long fucking paragraphs about how they used to support AEW, and they don't support AEW like they used to. And they used to watch all of this, and then they don't watch this. And after reading all of that, other than wanting to take an aspirin, I'm like, you offered no examples to fix the fucking problem. All you're doing is saying, I don't like that. I don't like that. I used to like that. Now that sucks. I don't like this. This really sucks. That blows. That sucks. I don't like that. Okay, genius. What would you do to fix it? Oh, it's not my pay scale. Just like some of those brilliant podcasters that have special co-hosts that have successful businesses in different elements of the world, and they'll complain everything about AEW or even WWE. Did you watch the show? I didn't watch it. How you complain about something you don't watch? Anthony Wieglin is saying LA is up 6-3 on the Mets. Fuck. That sucks, man. That sucks. What inning is it? Fourth inning. Okay, fourth inning. Wow, so Sean Manaea got racked. He got hit bad. Listen, if it's Yankees and Dodgers, I'm fine. I think if the Mets sign Juan Soto next year and they add a good pitcher, I think the Mets could be the favorite to win it next year. I'm telling you guys, I said this a couple of weeks ago, this year feels like 1985 Mets. I know Kevin and I have said this before. I'm telling you, I know most of you out there aren't either from New York or maybe my age, but if you lived through that time period and remember baseball, you'll understand why I say that. This is the year where I think the Mets are like, fuck this, man. We got to take it to the next level. I think next year, I mean, they could still, it ain't over yet. But this, in 85, they came this close to getting to the playoffs and didn't make it. No wild cards back then. So, you know what sucks? My favorite manager of all time is Billy Martin. If they had the wild card, this is the most amazing thing about it. If they had the wild card from the 80s the Yankees would have been in the playoffs almost every year. There were years that the Yankees won like 98 games and didn't make the playoffs. It's crazy when you think about it. So, all right, let's take 3 more questions and we'll jet out for the evening. Unless you make me an offer I can't refuse. No. Still, I don't want to overdo it. Kevin and I are going to have a loaded show tomorrow. Tuesday, we got Patreon, obviously. Wednesday, the news update will return. And then later this week, we have the other shows. And again, next Sunday, Kev will be joining me here. And we'll go however long is needed. However long is needed. So, and thank you again, everybody, for the support. Amazing. Benjamin is asking, how do I think Trump haters reacted when they saw him working the McDonald's drive-thru? I look at it like this. Again, I try to be so careful when I talk about politics because I'm not happy with either candidate. I mean, at one point I was a Trump supporter. I admit it, I was. But when, people say to me, oh, you supported Trump, you're a racist. And fuck you. You don't know nothing about me. That's the one thing. If the Democratic side and Snoop and everybody else out there would just stop with, if you support Trump, you're a racist, I think their argument would be so much more appealing. But it's that threatening, aspect of it that you have to almost, you're shamed out of supporting people. You're just as bad as others who are radically supportive of the guy. I mean, let me put it this way. Was him working McDonald's staged? He did give the food to real people, but this was all planned because you're not going to fucking check each car in the drive-thru for guns and bombs and everything else. You're not going to have random people showing up. Yeah, I was here for a Big Mac. Holy shit, the former president's here. Oh my God, could you autograph my Big Mac? Of course they're going to know in advance who was going to be there and pulling up. Guy almost got killed twice. You just got random people. No, it wasn't real. Because he wasn't real. It was closed. No shit. I'll tell you one thing. And I mean this. Wrestling over the last 48 hours, the internet wrestling community, and I'm going to repeat this tomorrow with Kev, because I know Kev has a lot to say about it too. Over the last 48 hours, the internet wrestling community had the opportunity to show everybody else out there through Twitter searches and Facebook searches and Instagram searches, not necessarily Instagram, but through searches about topics. The internet wrestling community had the opportunity to show the entire world that there's whack jobs in sports, there's whack jobs in entertainment, that there's these weird agendas and shaming and everything else going on there. And yes, there'll be some whack jobs in wrestling as well. But for the majority of the internet wrestling community, we don't agree with The Undertaker. We don't agree with Kane. We don't agree with this one. But this is who they want to support. We respect it. And the internet wrestling community proved to be 1,000 times worse than the entertainment world, the sports world, the media world, the news world. They had an opportunity the last 48 hours to show everyone else that we can be mature, disagree, and have debates. But no, it's fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, racist, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And Jim Cornette leading the way. Love his wrestling stuff. Support him and Brian last big time. Check out his wrestling stuff every week. When someone like that says, I kind of wish the guy didn't miss in Pennsylvania, I don't care what argument you make. I don't care how you could prove till the cows come home why this person shouldn't be president. When you kind of wish that someone was deceased and assassinated, you get no respect from me whatsoever. You are the problem. You're worse because you actually wish that somebody was assassinated. That is just beyond, it's bizarre. It's bizarre behavior. You know, unless that guy fucking attacked your mother, attacked your father, you know, did something really, really personal that you just want to see that person wiped off the face, that's different. Somebody attacked one of my family members or attacked my dogs, I'll fucking run you over with my car. I'll back up and run you over again. You know, but, you know, it's just, people's arguments are just bizarre. You know, even Batista, you know, I like Batista and he wants to vote for Kamala, that's fine. When you bring a fucking camera, do I have it here? Yeah. Look, everybody, I'm in the voting booth. Look, everybody, I'm not as emaciated as you think. Look, I'm voting. Look, I'm pushing Kamala. Look, Waltz, not Walt Disney. Look, I'm supporting it. Oh my God. Oh yeah, it's a picture of my dog. When you got to do all that, I was like, you know, man, I ain't fucking listening to your advice. You know, that's why I always beloved Mick Foley. Mick Foley totally isn't a Trump supporter. That motherfucker keeps his views to himself, keeps his thoughts to himself. He definitely expresses views, but isn't forcing on everyone else. The ones that gotta force or make sure that you know that it's embedded in your brain how they are going a certain way, man, those are the people I stay away from the most. Those are the people I stay away from the most. Remember a couple of months ago, I revealed that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who was refereeing or going to be the enforcer or whatever in the match in AEW. And I said, look, guys, you know, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is a huge Trump supporter. And what did you all say? And Kev said also, so what? So what? You know, it's not a big deal. Hey, he supports Trump, that's fine. You know, now you see what's going on with Undertaker and everybody else. You know, when you got to really push that agenda, nope. All right. Tristan is asking, what did I think of the Eddie Guerrero and Big Show rivalry with the sewer truck and the spiked burritos? It was fun. I enjoyed it. When Big Show got stuck in the stall and he stole Eddie's burritos, that was great because I always thought about the kid with the X-Lax. I mean, I'm not proud of it, but, you know, I gave a kid X-Lax when I was 15 years old, guys. Come on, that was fucking 40 years ago. I gave this little annoying brat X-Lax. And when I saw the segment with Eddie Guerrero and Big Show, that's all I kept thinking about, little Vito. Eddie's, you know, I mean, look, it was goofy. It was funny. You know, it was lighthearted humor. But, you know, Eddie was just, I tell you, man, I'm not saying this because Eddie Guerrero passed away. But I remember when Eddie Guerrero was in AAA with Love Machine, Art Bar. And he was good. The tag team was fun. You know, you didn't know how far it would go. And then Eddie Guerrero went to ECW in 1995, had a couple of matches, you know, mostly well known with Dean Malenko. And ECW fell in love with Eddie Guerrero. And then the last match they had, I believe it ended in a draw, and all the wrestlers put Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko on their shoulders because they knew that they were leaving to go to WCW. And I think their first match may have been against each other in WCW when they were on Nitro. I remember Eddie Guerrero looking at Dean almost like, look where we are now. And Eddie Guerrero was liked, but there was always something off. And yes, it was WCW, you know, favoring the big boys. Eddie Guerrero was never going to break through. Eddie Guerrero, there was one point when Eddie Guerrero was a heel in WCW when he was feuding with Ray at the time, and they had that infamous match at Halloween Havoc. I remember Eddie Guerrero walking down the rampway, oiled up with this angry look on his face, and he was so cut up I remember clearly me and my friends like, what the fuck is this guy on? That's not just suddenly let me stay in the gym all day long. Something was really up with that. He looked insanely good. Then obviously the Radicals left WCW, went to the WWF. Eddie did that first frog splash, dislocated his elbow, if I remember correctly. And that kind of derailed his start in WWF. But unfortunately, fans started shitting on the guy. Eddie Guerrero was one of the most hated wrestlers in WWF. And it was more, I don't want to say go away heat, but I still remember clearly the Eddie sucks chants. Eddie sucks. Eddie sucks. But it felt different. It felt the same way as X-Pac. Anybody remember the X-Pac sucks chants? I never ever envisioned at that time that Eddie Guerrero would end up becoming one of the most beloved baby faces of all time. When he was with China, and we were doing hotlines at the time. I still have hotline reports at that time. We were doing wrestling hotlines, and slowly, he would do the stuff with, China, Mamacita. And fans started to warm up to Eddie. Then he's doing stuff with Chavo. We lie, we cheat, we steal. And just, they started liking him. I mean, there's obviously a lot of other people that got involved with that as well. But to see Eddie at one point, one of the most hated wrestlers in the WWF, and not because he was such a great heel, it's just fans didn't like him, to turn to be one of the most beloved. Beautiful. Beautiful. What's up, Kev? Kev is in the chat right now. Stopping by to say hi. Fucking Mets, Kev, man. It's going to suck if they don't make it. It really sucks. Guys, don't forget, next Sunday, Kev joins me here live. We're going to talk wrestling. We're going to talk Halloween. And Kev is the man when it comes to horror films. If you are a fan of horror films, not just of today, but of yesteryear, trust me. And even if you've tuned into horror film podcasts out there, if you've never had a discussion with Kev about horror films, you're going to be in for a shocking treat next week. I'm not going to even pretend. A lot of horror discussion, I'm going to be sitting back in amazement. But hopefully you could join us next week. And again, one last plug. The Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle Show 20th anniversary shirt is out. That is the front. And that is the back. We don't do fake news to make news. So it is available on our Pro Wrestling Tees store. If you go to Pro Wrestling Tees and just look at the top selling shirts of the week, you'll see we're a front page. We're number 3 of the, that's just unheard of. Just even, it's funny because there's an AEW wrestler, I don't want to say who it is, but you could probably figure it out, who sent me a DM that I'm friends with. And he's like, the fuck you pass all these people? DT, how many shirts are you buying yourself? Come on. You're buying all these, you're scooping all these shirts up yourself. I'm like, no, and like it took off. So, and listen, it's nothing but love out there. I'm not going to lie. I was kind of hoping that Cross would have been wearing a DTKC shirt when he got interviewed with Chris Van Vliet. Obviously, you can't plug podcasts. We get it. We're just being joking here. But no, it's just awesome. It's awesome to see this kind of appreciation. So, all right. Benjamin saying, why do I have hair under my lip on my shirt? I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't have hair here. This is my hat. My hair is all fucked up. I don't know. Oh, wait. Is he talking about this? Oh, wait, maybe this? No, it's a bow tie. That's a bow tie. If I don't think I could zoom in. Oh, yeah, I can. No, it's a bow tie. I used to have hair underneath my chin. Chinny chin chin. I used to have hair over here. But, yeah, that's, listen, we're not that picky with artwork. So, All right, let's take two more questions and let's get out of here. We ended up going a half hour over, so we'll finish right at the 2-hour mark. And Kev says he wants Scarlett to wear this shirt. That would be cool. Hey, it comes in women's sizes. I'm just joking with that. I mean, obviously, listen, I'll never forget any of you out there that's from the Northeast. Remember the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels? They wrestled the SATs. Any of you remember from TNA, the SATs? Joel and Jose Maximo? They wrestled the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels once in the Elks Lodge. And the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels came to the ring with our shirts on. I have it on video. I've never put it online because their music, I'll probably get flagged with copyright. But trust me, you don't know how cool it felt to see these guys semi-main eventing a wrestling show with 1,000 people in it, and they're coming down wearing our shirts. Tremendous, man. And to think that was, 18 years ago? 19 years ago. Gruss is saying, what will AEW do if Shane doesn't come in? Just like if Cena wins, we still go home. Shane McMahon is not the savior of AEW. If Shane comes in, it'll be an interesting storyline because you still got the elite to worry about. If you do an ECW, WCW type alliance, and I'm not saying that Moxley's group is ECW or WCW. What I'm saying is that if you remember the alliance storyline, you had two groups coming together as one. You would have to have the elite and Moxley's group coming together as one. Then you would have to have a group led by Darby Allin to overcome them. I've said this on more than one occasion, and I'm going to continue saying it until the wrestling world starts saying it, and then I'll come up here and annoy you all and say, I've been saying this for months. Darby Allin is the Sting of AEW. When you think about Sting overcoming the NWO in the latter part of the 90s, Darby Allin is the Sting of AEW. Darby Allin will be the one to overcome Moxley's group. Darby Allin he'll be the leader to overcome the Elite's group. Remember, I've said this. I've said it in the synopsis of a couple of news reports. I sneak it in once in a while. Remember, Darby Allin is going to be looked at what Sting did towards the NWO is going to be what Darby Allin does to these factions. Remember, I said that. It's not about invasions. Even if Shane comes in, it's about Darby leading AEW to overcome these groups trying to turn AEW upside down. When I said 10 years ago, or even, about 10 years ago, that Roman Reigns is going to get the John Cena push, still remember a lot of you guys, E.T., what are you talking about? Roman Reigns doesn't wrestle like John Cena. Roman Reigns doesn't even have a personality like John Cena. What are you talking about? He's still the Shield. Why do you said Roman Reigns is going to be the heir apparent to John Cena. He is going to be that role model. He is going to be that guy that's going to get shoved down our throats. Roman Reigns is going to get the John Cena push. It is documented. It is online. Then it happened, and people were like, okay, now I understand why. Same thing with Darby Allin. Darby Allin is going to be what Sting was against the NWO. One day, it'll come together, and you'll be like, now I know what he was talking about. And we need Jey Uso to lose on Raw tomorrow because of the bloodline. Then Kev could go Monday night and go, for everybody, that was funny last Monday. What are you guys talking about? Jey Uso just won the belt. How could he lose next week again so quickly, even if the bloodline get involved? That doesn't make sense. Jey's no eat. Roman Reigns, Jey Uso hasn't even done anything with Roman. No eat. What a difference a week makes. We'll see. We'll see tomorrow. All right, I'm out of here, guys. So once again, tomorrow night, 10:15 p.m. Eastern, right after Raw, Kevin and I will be live on our Discord channel for the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. It is dtkcdiscord.com. So I hope you can all join us there. And, again, just keep supporting the website, dtkcshow.com. Keep downloading all the shows. That keeps us relevant in the stats. It is free. We want to try to keep things as free as possible. So the more exposure we get, the more people that tune in, and maybe we'll get lucky and get a sponsor down the line. And if you have the means and you want to pick up a shirt, absolutely, man. Wear it proud. And make sure you pose with some wrestlers, because that lives in infamy. From Mr. Kennedy pointing like, the fuck is going on here, to Matt Riddle. Anybody remember, I think it was Andrew in Florida? Matt Riddle's like looking at his shirt. At that time, it was much different vibes. And Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal is wrestling tonight for Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. So, all right, guys, have a good rest of your evening. We'll see what happens with the Mets. And we'll be live Monday night after Raw. So much love, everybody. Have a good one.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.